Hello there, and welcome to the House of Hammer. Now then, what do we have here? We are making our way down the famed corridor of 1955. Looking back, 1954 was something of a mixed bag, wasn't it? From Face the Music to House Across the Lake, a quick dash through Sherwood Forest, and then onto Brands Hatch for Mask of Dust. After this episode, and our forthcoming show on the Glass Cage, Hammer do move a bit more into the horror territory. We have Quatermass, Frankenstein, and of course Dracula, all coming in the next few months. But if you think it's all horror, well, I'm going to surprise you. We do return to noir, but we also have a war film, something of a prison drama, and also Hammer make a return to the comedy genre. Whether you think that's a good idea or not depends on whether you actually like laughing. Before we move on to today's subject of murder by proxy, now that we're shimmying our way along this particular stretch of 1955, let's have a look at what was happening in the world, and also what was happening with Hammer. Well, dearie me, 1955 does provide some grim reading. Not only do we get the Sutton Coldfield rail crash, Winston Churchill has to resign because of ill health, and then the death of James Dean happens as well. Let's not dwell on the sad though, let's look at some more upbeat affairs. Elvis makes his television debut, we get the Salk polio vaccine, and the very first franchise McDonald's. Disneyland opens in Anaheim, Guinness publishes its first ever book of world records, and we get the inaugural episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. See? Not all doom and gloom. You can get vaccinated, eat some junk food, go to a theme park, and read about people with really long fingernails. Bonus. In the movies, it's a good year for musicals, with Oklahoma and Guys and Dolls smashing the box office, but with also Lady and the Tramp and the 7-Year Itch riding high. But what about our beloved Hammer? Well, their 4-year deal with Robert Lippert was coming to an end. It was Lippert's influence that had led to a rotation of American stars appearing in Hammer films over the last few years. Having been comfortably in Bray's studio since 1951, Hammer did attempt to move away, but this was blocked by the Association of Cinematograph Technicians. Bray remained Hammer's home until 1966. As mentioned, Hammer's focus really shifted onto horror at this time. Obviously, we will come onto this more as the year progresses, but with X the Unknown, and more so with both Quatermass films, Hammer really was about to turn a very substantial corner. For now though, they still had a couple more slices of noir to get through, which, very nicely, leads us to today's film. Murder by Proxy, aka Blackout, is another turn behind the camera by Terence Fisher. Our customary American in peril this time is the returning Dane Clark, here for his third and final appearance for Hammer Studios. He plays Casey Morrow, a down-on-his-luck sucker who seems to like the drink, just a tad. But wouldn't you know it, because on this particular evening his luck is in. In a bar and drunk, he's approached by the stunning Belinda Lee, who proposes that he proposes, a marriage of convenience, and for which she will pay him £500. See, this is why films are such This has never happened to me when I was drunk. It's never happened to me when I was sober. It's just never happened to me. I'm too angry now. Just play a clip.
Was that really your last 10 shillings?
That, my mysterious young lady, is an understatement. I am now absolutely, positively, and completely broke.
Perhaps I could interest you in a job.
What do you have in mind?
I've got just the job for you. It pays well. £500.
What did you say?
£500.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We'll have to get started if we're going to get there in time. Will you help me?
Coming to the next day, Casey finds himself in the flat of Maggie, played by the wonderful Eleanor Summerfield, who, seemingly being a good Samaritan in helping out a fellow human being, becomes embroiled in trying to help him find out just what happened.
Just what am I doing here?
I was hoping you could tell me.
I'm sorry. Don't you know?
Only that you're a persistent man with the doorbell. I don't know what you're selling, chum, but I rarely buy from bell pushers after 2 a.m.
Why'd you let me in?
It was raining. Oh, do you mind drinking from a cup without a handle? London is the city of the welcoming hand. Like our American guests, they have a good time. You do want it black, don't you?
Yes. Look, if you're waiting for an explanation, I'm afraid I haven't got any. As far as I'm concerned, last night was a complete blackout.
You've been away from wherever you come from long? Joe? Ed? William?
Yes, I've always been away. Even when I was a kid. And the name is Morrow, Casey Morrow.
My name's Margaret Doone. Maggie has more possibilities.
Hi, Maggie.
How far away is away?
Chicago?
Chicago. Exciting.
Well, not the section I come from. It's full of garbage cans and alleys. Deep freeze in the winter, sweatbox in the summer.
Now what?
Well, now I want to be wherever things are smooth. You know, plate glass, chrome, expensive furniture.
Well, that takes care of the past and the future. What about the present?
Turns out the mysterious blonde who was chatting Casey up in the bar is Phyllis Brunner, something of a rich heiress. Phyllis's father was killed overnight. Casey has a terrible hangover and 500 knicker in his sky. All these things can't be connected, can they? Hangover is an odd term. I had an idea where it came from. Turns out I was totally wrong. And on that note, I'll throw it over to the man who loves telling me I'm wrong more than anyone else in the world, Mr. Ben Truth Teller Taylorson.
In the opening scenes of Murder by Proxy, we meet Casey Morrow in a nightclub, and he is, quite frankly, hammered. An apt turn of phrase to describe his drunken state for this particular podcast, but I could also have described him as wasted, plastered, canned, juiced up, fried, loaded, jarred, being 3 sheets to the wind, pie-eyed, cockeyed, oiled, embalmed, blasted, skunked, steamed, toasted, buzzed, sloshed, wrecked, inebriated, sozzled, legless, out of it, sloshed, mortaled, off his trolley, tanked, lashed, smashed, blotto, pickled, or blitzed. In fact, I read recently there are over 3,000 combinations of words in British English alone to describe an inebriated person. Later in the story, when he's sobered up, Casey refers to his drunken self as really having hung one on. This is a turn of phrase I've heard before, and I'm intrigued by, but what exactly is meant by it? Well, it's a variation of the phrase tying one on, which means to become intoxicated or be on a drinking spree. But I could work that bit out for myself. One popular theory relates to its origin being in the Wild West of the United States of America, specifically the notion that you had to tie up your horse to a post outside a watering hole or saloon before going inside to imbibe some guzzling whiskey or similar, hence the tie one on saying. However, most sources dismiss this as unlikely. Tie a bun on was an old British slang term for getting drunk, and tie one on could derive from there. The word bun had long been used as an expression of drunkenness in Britain, but it's now been dropped out of modern parlance. A more detailed bun-related explanation involved a supposed test of sobriety being whether or not you could balance a bun on your head after you'd had a few. I mean, we've all been there, pulled over at random by police on the A19 where you're asked to step out of your car and balance a Warburton's roll on your bonds to prove that you're fit to complete your journey. More likely than being something to do with bun balancing or cowboy transportation is that the origin of the term hang one on refers to the act of beginning drinking before the hangover of the previous night has worn off, therefore tying onto the previous drinking session. Now, the word hangover originally described someone or something that remained or simply survived after an event, but it was later distilled into common use as a word specifically for the effects of overconsumption of alcohol or drugs that remained the next day. It's as simple as that. When you see something, say on social media, that claims the origin of the term relates to the lowest form of accommodation in Victorian England, usually used by drunken sailors who had spent all their money drinking, that's nonsense. Don't get me wrong, such things did happen, but it's not the origin of the word. In Victorian Britain, for a penny, a person could pay to sit up on a bench all night in a hall. The downside of this arrangement was that they weren't actually supposed to sleep in these sit-ups. Some places even went as far as to employ monitors to ensure that no one fell asleep, as the right to sleep was not included in that penny price. But for an extra penny, that's a total of twopence for those of you keeping count at home, you could pay to sleep literally hanging over a rope. But, to make sure you got your money's worth and nothing more, the rope would be unceremoniously cut first thing the next morning to wake you up before you were kicked back out onto the street. Both of these options were better than sleeping on the streets, but even with the protection from the elements that such places offered, they were not necessarily heated, and it was not unheard of for people to freeze to death during the night. Despite the existence of these twopenny rope houses, the term hangover is unlikely to have come from this practice. The proof can be offered with the fact that two-penny hangovers also existed in France, but the French word for hangover is gueule de bois, which literally translates as mouth of wood, so nothing to do with hanging over at all. If you have tied one on and are now hung over, perhaps having spent the morning clinging to the toilet bowl, the action of dangling over the commode or hanging over the toilet to vomit is also cited as another possible origin of the word hangover, you may need some hair of the dog. This is a phrase commonly used to describe the practice of drinking more alcohol as a cure for your hangover. The origin of this phrase can be traced back to the popular belief that, had you been bitten by a wild dog, a surefire way to ensure that the dog bite didn't escalate into a full-blown case of rabies or a demonic curse or something, was simply to obtain some hair from the dog that bit you and then apply it to the wound in the form of some sort of healing dressing to ward off the foaming at the mouth or speaking in tongues. Sounds pretty unhygienic to me, mind.
Thank you, Ben. That entire segment is pure pub fodder. You're all going to be nicking some of those facts for the next time you're in the boozer. Don't deny it, we all know the truth. So, murder by proxy then. Is it like a vintage champagne, or is it like those bitty dregs you get at the bottom of a can of wicked strength lager? Joining me to find out, as always, are Cev Moore and Ben More Tea Vicar Taylorson.
Gentlemen, Murder by Proxy, aka Blackout. Quite a pleasing start, in so much that both titles actually make some sense when you contextualize.
That's true.
Yeah. And we return to again with Dane Clark as our leading man, third time. And last time, is that right? Final time?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Opposite Belinda Lee here. So we've seen Dane Clark in 3 Days, aka Paid to Kill. Is that the alternate title for that one? I think.
Yeah, it is.
And Gambler and the Lady. My first question for you, gents, is how did you feel this Dane Clark appearance compared with the previous two? We'll start with you, Smokey.
Hate to correct you, but it was 5 days, but never mind. Do you know what? I'm glad you started out with that question, because this is the Dane Clark I wanted to see. Less so with Gambler and the Lady, but with 5 days, I thought we did say he was a rather unlikable character, and I didn't really get on with him at all. Gambler and the Lady, a little bit more sympathetic, but this one, I think he's great. He's nice, he's charming, he's a guy who's been put in a kind of impossible situation. But I was delighted that this was Dane Clark in a Hammer film, and if this was as we know now to be the case, to be his last Hammer appearance. I think it's a very fitting send-off for him. His performance is great for me.
Agreed. It was a great performance all the way through. It starts off and it's Dane Clark being a drunk again.
But he does it
which
so
is
well.
Very convincing. He's a very convincing drunk.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking as a drunk myself, I look at it and go, well, yeah, you've got that one pretty nailed, but I've never been able to pull Belinda Lee. But I loved the sort of wide-eyed bleariness of it all when she comes over and starts talking to him, and you can see him just going, hang on, lads, this is not happening, surely not. No. And it's fantastic. There's so many subtleties in his performance in this, and all the way through, it's just a joy to watch. He sparks so much off the other characters, such as Belinda Lee herself. There's Maggie, the play that they have together, fantastic. And it would be this one that he'd get Renee Glynn thrown off the set for. Because he just didn't get on with her. And you see none of that rage on the screen.
No, I mean, in fairness, this character is much more humorous than either of the other two. And I thought, because I agree with you both,
I was just going to ask.
By far his best appearance out of the three. And because it was frustrating watching him in the other two, because I knew that the leading man I wanted to see was in there. And for whatever reason, it wasn't getting out.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I just think the injection of a bit of humour allowed him to flex his acting muscles and show his range and make the character that bit more likeable and charismatic and somebody you would actually want to spend time with, and you want to spend 90 minutes or whatever it is, 82 minutes watching. Because there are a couple of scenes, it's the whole concept of her convincing him he can be a detective and him saying things like, oh yeah, I've seen some films. I can go out there and be a detective. It's absolutely brilliant.
I've got to interject there right now. I'm so glad you agree with that, and I'm glad you've both mentioned the humour of it, because this really does have some wonderful touches of quite dark humour in places as well.
Occasionally, yes.
Which is...
alongside some very, very amusing physical comedy.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. But this goes back a little bit to what I said at the end of our last roundtable for Breaking the Circle, which was that I was angry with Hammer because they'd been moving forward and they'd been trying something different, and then they just fell back on this tired, cliched nonsense that they'd gone for before. But what I saw while watching Murder by Proxy was, yes, they'd gone back to the drawing board, but they'd gone, all right, what was the problem with what we'd had? Let's fix a few problems here. So they make our protagonist likable. Number one, it's like, oh, thank God, our leading man is not a prat. And it was just like, this is really good. As we say, they injected some humor. That was great. Of course, we still have a murder mystery. All right, that's fine. We've done it before, but let's do it again. And they do it in a slightly different way, which is wonderful. And right, I'm adding a narrative that obviously, you'll get it in a minute, that obviously isn't there. But this is like Hammer heard us a little bit. Because that scene you referenced there, Ben, when he says, oh yeah, I can be a detective, I've seen films. It's the lines up to that which work for us three, which is they fully admit that he's a yank over here for no reason. He shouldn't be being a detective, which how many times have we said? And it's like they've heard us and gone, right, we're putting this in the script. It's like everything we've said about these Hammer noirs has suddenly come around a bit, and they've gone, ooh, we know what we're doing here, and we can actually make a really good noir. And we have made some good noir in the past, but we kind of dropped the ball a little bit, especially with the last one. And I was delighted with the opening of this film because it was like they'd heard us, and I was kind of back in love with Hammer again.
Yeah, to me, this is like the finest. It is, as daft as it seems, it would be as this whole phase is coming to a close. They finally hit on everything, all guns blazing, and it actually works. But it's just the dialogue, like the opening scene you were on about in Maggie's flat, who is an absolutely superb character. But the dialogue in this absolutely sparkles all the way through. But there's a particular line where he says something like, if your mother beats you, she has my deepest admiration. Yes. Fantastic. But I find that Maggie gets the lion's share of the really good lines, and especially when she's ripping the absolute out of him for making a cup of tea.
I love that
Kev,
scene.
that whole scene, the American perplexed by the concept of a kettle with a plug is
Warm the
absolutely
pot.
brilliant.
Warm the pot, I love that.
But the warm the pot, so listener, for context, Maggie tells him to warm the teapot, and he has no idea how to do it, so he just puts the teapot right against the kettle. But I'm going to, for confession time, I turned to my wife and said, "Wow, do you warm the teapot?" Only to be told, "You fill it with hot water, idiot."
Yes. That's kind of how it works.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I love that scene. It was wonderful. I mean, it's also because we should point out that that moment Maggie is trying to preserve Phyllis's dignity somewhat because she's going to have to remove her clothes. And so you could just be facing a wall. You could just do that and angle it that way. But no, they just send him into the kitchen to make an ass of himself. And it's like, This is new. This is different. This is really entertaining. And we've mentioned her several times. We must. So Eleanor Summerfield, who plays Maggie, we have now seen her in quite a few Hammer films. She was in Man Last Page, and she was in Face the Music. But also, we've just encountered her in an episode of Hammer House of Horror as well.
We have, yes,
and
much later, 30 years later.
Much later. But she is wonderful, especially in this. I mean, and also is the fact that you don't really get a conclusion to her story, but which would have been nice. But she's great.
I like how it's left.
Yeah, it so do I a little bit, but it's quite interesting that she's cast effectively to play the old maid, and she was a little bit in what's Inspector Trumpet Investigates, Face the Music. That's it. She was a very similar character in so much that she's never going to get the leading man. But what really interested me is she's 32 years old here. Dane Clark is 43, and Belinda Lee is 17 or 18. You know, so it's 32. She's too old for Dane Clark, apparently, in the narrative.
I don't know.
It's weird. She's cast older, I think.
She is, but she's great.
I don't think it's her age as such as her agency. I feel like she seems
mannerisms.
like she sounds and she's more of a rounded out character. I mean, she's a woman that's actually got her own career. She's got her own studio. She's an accomplished artist. I mean, good God, that portrait that she does of Belinda Lee in a little flat thing, fantastic.
That's going to be another one for you to be searching for, along with your Sid James portrait.
The 60-foot Sid James portrait. Yeah, I've got to find that. But oh wow, you know, it's interesting that you've got some really solid characters in this, and they are pretty secondary when you boil it down to it, you know, and yet they've really sort of brought everything to the line and gone, right, here's everything right across the board.
But I can't go beyond. I'm about to change the point in a second, but I must comment on Eleanor Summerfield's head, which is the flattest head I've ever seen. I don't know whether it's her hair or what, but you could stand a pint pot on that and quite easily.
That was her party trick.
It must be a hairstyle. Yes, it must be. Yes, she's got like a Frankenstein head, but only in flatness. She's still a very pretty woman.
Oh, absolutely, she is. But I mean, there is just something magnetic about her, more so in this film, I think, than any other. And when there is the scene when her and Dane Clark and Belinda Lee, they're all in her flat, they're all acting, they're all firing off, and she's got some great barbs that she's firing off as well. And she's not pushed off the screen. You're not focused on her. You're not just focusing on the two beautiful people. You are still looking at her as well, because her performance is that well done. I think the three leads in this are all excellent.
I agree, and I think the standard of her acting really helps the intrigue in the opening sort of 10-12 minutes. Agreed. Because it's played like a mystery, and you know immediately that her character, that Maggie knows more than she's letting on, but she does it so subtly and so in a way that doesn't make you sort of cross or or anything. You're just kind of suspicious or intrigued as to what could possibly have happened. That's exactly how she should play. You buy
that she's just this good Samaritan.
Yeah, absolutely.
That she just found this. I love. What was her line? It was you can't leave Americans out in the rain, or something along those lines. That if you're in London, you need a warm welcome. So I brought you in because it was raining. It's just like, I believed her. I wasn't sort of going like, well, she has an ulterior motive or a hidden agenda. She was just she was just being nice.
the one thing I would say is I enjoyed the tone the whole way through, sort of playful detective thing, but there are a couple of occasions where Belinda Lee is asked effectively to change the tone very quickly, and I thought it jarred. I really did. So, there's a couple of moments where she's all of a sudden she's concerned, or all of a sudden she's cross, or because there's a scene, for example, where it's not long after the infamous kettle scene, where Casey, Dane Clark's character, is saying, look, I don't want any more to do with this plot. You've got me so embroiled. And she's been sort of quite submissive and meek and quiet. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, you have to, or I'm going to blackmail you. Yeah. And it's the way in which it's done is like, oh, I'm not sure I appreciate that turn of tone. I don't know. Kev, what did you think? Did you have any problems with that?
I feel like she is very inconsistent, but I feel like that's part of why you're kept on the edge of your seat, wondering whereabouts she's going from one second to the next. Because don't forget that there's also a bit where she turns completely on Casey and drops him completely, and literally drops him like a hot potato. And you think, oh my God, so this is what you've been at all the way through. And then again, it then goes somewhere else. And you're like, oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm quite happy with the ride that I go on with Belinda Lee in this, because I feel like Phyllis as a character is very complicated, and she's got a lot to take on. And let's face it, she's having to take it on her own, and she's doing the best that she can given what she's up against.
Yeah.
I mean, we are repeatedly reminded that she's very young and that she's very sort of, prone to change her mind and do this, then, do that and the other.
It is mentioned.
There was something, it's mentioned a few times, but it's just because she plays an older character very well, because she very much comes across as older than ironically, than the age she's meant to be. I think she is only meant to be about 18, but she looks about 25 and comes across in her mannerisms as such, which I think maybe is why it jars slightly. I mean, it's not a major criticism of mine, but on both watches I did note there's a bit of a sort of a 90-degree turn in tone. Smokey, what did you think?
Well, the thing is that I agree with both of the way you're coming from, but it did alter slightly on the second viewing. So the first viewing, and she switches from the damsel in distress to the femme fatale. And I agree with you. The first watch, it was a little jarring, especially in the latter stages of the film when she goes seriously femme fatale and she just doesn't care.
That scene's odd, but
it is. But then I was just thinking. Then on the second viewing, I watched it more, and I watched it more of her being a spoilt little rich girl who was just flipping so she could get what she wanted. Daddy's dead, but I still get his money type thing. And it was, I've got a pony outside, I've got a car outside, but I can still have any man I want, and I can still have all the money I want. And so she can easily do that and flip that, because that's what those poor little rich girls are, especially in the 50s.
Daddy's got a Porsche.
Damn right. Daddy's got bloody everything. And now he's gone, so she's got bloody everything. So I was a bit more sympathetic to her performance on the second viewing.
I do find it interesting that we go through this plot and there's quite a lot of intrigue going on, and it's only about 3/4 way through that you're reminded that you are actually watching an investigation of this murder.
Yeah.
Daddy's
Someone's
been killed.
dead.
Somebody's dead, and we've all stopped talking about it. What is going on?
He literally says that in the script.
Yeah.
Excuse me, someone's dead here.
Yeah, he literally goes. See, this is what I'm saying. It's like he's talking to us again. It's like Hammer talking to us again. Isn't it funny that everyone's forgot that this all started with? And I love the added little line. He goes, "This all started with someone dying. I can't remember his name, and it's, the person he's saying this to, it's her husband." And it's like, this is brilliant.
But I'm sat there going, "Oh yeah, what is his name? I can't remember."
Well, this is it, because we've just gone an hour. We've just gone an hour without it being mentioned.
Yeah.
Going back to the scene you talked about towards the end of the film, where Phyllis seems to turn on Casey. And she's in this scene where there's her and her fiance and her mother and Dane Clark. Casey walks in and she just sits there and says nothing. And I can hear the director's voice saying, okay, Belinda, just smolder some more. Say nothing, smolder. I honestly thought the film was going to burst into flames because she was smouldering that hard at the camera.
Right? Yeah, the eyebrows were on fleek. They were really going.
She was staring into my soul.
Well,
I mean, I think I'm picking up that overall, all three of us are quite positive about this film, and despite the fact I've picked up on a minor quibble there, it really is that there is one element of this film though that I personally don't think works, and I'm interested to get your opinions on it. So we've got a reasonably straightforward noir mystery. Somebody's been murdered. He's been framed. There's an intrigue to do with a rich family. We've had the synopsis earlier in the episode by now, but then all of a sudden we're introduced to Casey's family in a scene that just pads the film out by about 10 minutes, and I felt it stopped the flow of the film. It stopped the focus of the film, and all of that was utterly superfluous to our main driving force, and I found it detracted from the quality of the film. It was a real distraction from what we should have been focused on. My opinion, though, not trying to project that on you. No. Smokey, what did you think?
I'm really glad you said that, because I thought something very similar. But again, this thought has been in my mind all week, that Hammer are subliminally talking to us. And where we've gone, where we've had all these Americans coming to our shores, and it's been, oh, he was in the Air Force. Oh, he was in the Army. Oh, he's an author. Oh, he's a trumpet player. Ridiculous, just one line explanations why these Yanks are on our shores, right? And this one, they've decided, you know what? We're going to give him a bit more of a backstory, and he has family here, which gives it a bit more depth to him. He's got his mum and he's got his brother. And I reckon that was them going, look, we'll give that a bit more of depth to his character. But also for the fact, granted, they could have done it in 100 different other ways, was that they needed the witnesses for Phyllis to be unkidnapped, if you will.
Yeah.
So there is a reason behind it. Don't get me wrong. I am agreeing with you. It drags it down. It slows it down. It could have been done in a lot of better ways, but I get why it's there. And also, we should point out that Mrs. Aris is back from Death in High Heels.
Yeah.
A gap of 47 movies from then to now, which is just, I was so chuffed. There was no poisoned curry this time, sadly. But
shame.
I know. We had Mrs. Aris back, so I was happy with that. But I get where you're coming from, Ben. Kev, what do you think?
I really did enjoy this, because this gave you enough time to sort of breathe. And it's funny because obviously on this latest rewatch, because I think this is one of the ones, apart from probably River Patrol, that I've seen the most over the last few years.
Then.
Yeah.
Quality floats to the top.
Absolutely.
of the Thames.
In Chelsea.
By Chelsea, yeah. But it's one of them where it sort of takes you out, and then you think, well, actually, no, I quite enjoy this piece, because it gives you, like Smokey's already said, that it gives you more of a human angle to Casey, as well as that his mother, even though she could be seen as very cookie cutter,
stereotypical.
It's still quite enjoyable watching her dynamic with him, and then watching her twigging that the inspector's here and she knows that he's in bother.
She knows she knows her boy.
Sharp as a tack. Honestly. No, I really enjoyed that. And I liked the way that then it sort of gets you set up and propels you into the final act. And it's just the dip it needs to actually give you that bit extra. It's a bit like a roller coaster where you're going up to your last bump. Yeah.
Agreed.
It's like that.
See, where are these people from? What are these accents? Which country have they arrived from?
Who cares?
Chelsea.
Yeah, they're all from Chelsea.
Yeah, it's just because it's like I couldn't buy it, because he had an American accent. Mama had what appeared to be an Italian accent.
Kind of.
Big John, I don't know what he was trying.
No.
I think he might have been unwell. But it was, just the whole thing. I just thought,
he was from Big Johnnistan.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I'm meant to believe they've come from somewhere, I'd quite like to have some clue as to geographically where that might have been. But okay, now that's fair enough. I take your point.
Can I tee off on something you said there, though, Ben? Which is that this film isn't perfect. No. I'm glad you brought in a negative hero, because I've got one too. Which is that we meet Phyllis's fiance. We also, and then there's also like a kind of butler type servant, and then there's the mother, and then there's a private eye, and then there's all these kind of very superfluous kind of characters, not including Maggie in this at all, because she works, and the mother kind of works as well. Well, actually, she does especially work.
Very.
But there's a lot of names thrown out, and a lot of people who aren't on screen.
Yeah.
And then we're following these breadcrumbs to people we're not 100% sure who they are and what they have to do with the murder plot. The latter half of the film becomes it concentrates far too much on people who aren't there.
Yeah,
and
it becomes very convoluted, I think.
When
it
really didn't need to be. The last half hour could have been made a hell of a lot more simpler. It could have been done,
by cutting out the Swiss Family Robinson.
All right. Let it go. But no, I'm just saying. But there was just a little too many forks in the road towards the end, when it could have just been in a more of a straight line. That's definitely going to be a negative for me.
All I've got to say to you is The Maltese Falcon.
Well,
that's a film that makes no bleeding sense, but everybody loves it anyway. And
great
this
film,
is.
Kev.
This is, it is. It still makes no bleeding sense. But this is just the same. You've got lots of setups. You've got Carter B. Groot, the legendary Carter B. Groot, the private investigator.
That is the worst name.
I love him.
It's the worst name ever.
It sounds like he's from Trumpton. But I love
it's like if you bought Johnny Be Good from Lidl.
I love the fact that this guy is never actually seen, but he's obviously a key player and, in fact, plays into it at the very end when the inspector calls. But as well as that, you've got this whole crazy family that have got all sorts of shenanigans going on with charities, and they're setting up false companies and stuff like that. And you think, oh my word. Yeah.
And throw in the fact that one character has two separate names.
Yeah.
Harold Lang's character is called Travis and Vano. And it's like, what?
Well, no, Vano's his front name, isn't it? Because that's his. Again, it's back to the shenanigans.
I know, but we get explained that when he's not on screen. It's like, who are you?
No. I love it. I love the fact that we do get Harold Lang again. As always, he's the henchman and hired gun. And let's face it, he never fails as them. But for my money, he gets his worst comeuppance that he's ever got in any film, and he's locked in a small cupboard with a very annoyed and very drunk woman.
He never fails, apart from being punched in the face and locked in a cupboard when he failed miserably. But yes, I know what you mean.
With a drunk woman.
This is his sixth Hammer film we've seen him in. I mean, my word. I mean, Beautiful. He's up there with like Paul Carpenter and Naomi Chase and all that. Wow, he's one of the. Oh, we should point out, by the way, 11 named cast members. 9 of them we have seen before.
It was a festival of previous Hammer people.
Exactly. And that again goes to my theory. They've heard us. They've gone, right, they've seen these people, they like them, put them in the film. And it's like, yes.
Put the Ouija board down.
I'm not giving it up with this film. This film knows us.
I think this is actually aimed at a smarter crowd than the usual popcorn flinging lot that you get on a Saturday morning. I think it's fair to say that they are actually writing it for somebody that's a little bit more discerning and will actually enjoy where this plot is twisting and turning and taking you.
So how did we enjoy it then?
We were just there for popcorn.
I can't move on past Carter B. Groot.
Oh my God.
What kind of a name is that? If I wrote that in a film script, they just go, fine, but make it a real name. Not like it's not who you've. No one's ever met anyone called Carter Groot. Never mind Carter B. Groot.
Ben, they never did.
Seriously, 70 years later, it gets used in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Is that his full name in Guardians of the Galaxy?
That is the tree's full name.
Okay, so do you want to give me your final thoughts on this and a rating out of 10? I think we've all enjoyed this one. I'll go to you first, Smokes. What final thoughts rating out of 10?
I think I've given most of what I think. I mean, this really feels like such a return to form. And I know it may seem that we've hated on several movies recently, and you know, we can't dictate what's put in front of us because we're going through them chronologically. You know, we're not just waiting for the horror. We're having to do this chronologically. And so I personally, I won't put words in your mouth, but I enjoyed Third Party Risk. And then we had House Across the Lake before that, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then we hit a dirge of kind of noir of 36 Hours and Blood Orange and Face the Music, but we had Spaceways in there as well. And we go back, I know it's a bit far away, but Lady in the Fog as well, I enjoyed that as well. But you add all the best elements of those ones together, and in my personal opinion, that's where you get Murder by Proxy. This, because of the quite unique way I'm going through this journey of never having seen any of these before and doing them all in order. This was something that I'd been just wanting for I don't know how long, maybe a year, and it just brought all the best elements together. Dane Clark is on fire. Belinda Lee is great. The script is just is wonderful, and with a great bit of a black humor in there. Special praise must go to Eleanor Summerfield, as we've said. I think she's an absolute dream to watch on screen in this time. This is one of the best Hammond noirs that there is, in my opinion. It's really up there. I'm pushing between an 8 and a 9 because I think this is exceptional fun. Do you know what? I'm going to give this a 9. I think this is wonderful.
I can't disagree with Smokey on that at all. It was one of those. I was thinking 8.5, but I don't like doing halves, so it's a 9 for me. Yeah. It's where Hammer really have been missing, and they've really started hitting on this one. There's an incredible amount of different settings in this film as well. I don't know if you realise just what kind of a breakneck pace we're going in. Every scene seems to be a different setting.
That's a good point.
And every one of them looks $1 million. There's not any one of them look like... I mean, you go back to something like Death in High Heels, for instance, and it looks like a sad Oxfam shop with a piece of Hessian. And then suddenly you've got this, and these aren't just country houses. These are apartments. You've got the designer studio and stuff. And, you know, some of these you'll see for 2 minutes on screen and they're not there again. So I feel like they've really pushed the boat out. But as well as
at least 18 different scenes, Kev, because I made a note as we were going.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That is shocking then. God, that's a heck of a lot of work.
I'm glad you counted. Yeah, that's incredible.
But this film is about the female actors. There's a lot of really good female characters in this. But the one that we have missed is the one that is my favourite, and it's Jill Melford's Miss Nardis, who was in the film for no more than 3 minutes and is in danger of walking away with the whole film because her dry sarcasm absolutely slays me. I mean, there's a bit where...
the secretary.
Yes. When Casey says, "This is the Brunner building, isn't it?" And she just says, "This is a big day for discoveries for you, isn't it?"
That's a great line.
Like, honestly, you can see she's rolling her eyes because she's obviously got the long and short of him, and she just casually filing her nails and just doing nothing but rolling her eyes and filing her nails and ripping him to bits. Fantastic and absolutely well piece.
Can I just throw in there? Actually, you're right, because Alita Huntley, the woman he meets later on as well.
Yeah.
And he just sort of goes, well, how will I find this person? And she just looks at him and goes, phone book. And he just kind of face palms himself and goes, yeah, all right, fine. You're right, actually. That is a really good point. The strong female characters in this are so much stronger and more intelligent than the males in this film. Absolutely. Well, God, yeah. What a great point.
He's on this whole case because a female has actually clipped him around the head and said, "Go and be a detective, idiot."
And another one saved his life, and another one
yes,
did this. Yeah.
But and then of course you've got Mrs. Brunner, who, for reasons I can't say because I want to stay spoiler free, is an absolute treat because you think she's one thing and turns out to be something completely different. Beautiful. Yeah, what a fantastic film.
Ben.
Well, I can't say that it set my pants aflame to the same degree as it clearly did you two, but I did very much enjoy it. I the second half of the film, on both of my viewings, I was disappointed that it couldn't keep up the same quality level as. I mean, I love the opening. I love the opening scene. I love the opening 2 or 3 setups that it goes through, and it's the pace is great, the tone is fantastic, the chemistry between the actors is brilliant. Everyone hits their marks. It just gets too convoluted in the second half. And Smokey, you said it there, the introduction of too many characters, a couple of that we don't see, and you think hang on, do I need to remember who that is?
That's why it's not getting a 10.
I've already voiced my opinion on the introduction of Casey's family, which I just think is completely unnecessary. But all of that said, I still give it a 7, and I still really enjoyed it, and I would still happily watch it again. And it's easily Dane Clark's best Hammer film, and it's definitely one of the top noirs. And if anyone asks me, should I give this a watch, I definitely recommend it.
Absolutely.
Same here.
Well, there you go. In our humble opinion, Hammer finally hit the nail on the head with one of their finest ever noir films. Let us know if you agree. Now, a few episodes ago, you may remember my ill-fated attempt at doing a segment on fur coats. Didn't really go to plan, that one, but at least I didn't descend into fur coat-related injuries. What did spring from that segment, though, was us all noticing a name. One that continually pops up on the credits for Hammer, and does so for a good while yet. A true Hammer hero. And to give us more, it's the wonderfully Moorish Mr. Cev Moore.
Oxfordshire-born Molly Irene Frances Weeks, who would become Molly Arbuthnot in 1935 after her marriage to the rather grand-sounding Lieutenant Commander Archibald Hugh Gough Arbuthnot, had something of a charmed career. It all began in 1948 with the Brit thriller Calling Paul Temple, and by the time she decided to take up residence with the Hammer family for 1952's Never Look Back, she'd not only somehow managed to run the wardrobe departments for 9 feature films, but coincidentally worked with future Hammer directors Roy Ward Baker and Val Guest, along with future Bond director Lewis Gilbert. With the way they worked during the best part of the 50s, Hammer clearly needed someone who could work fast and bring a touch of glamour to the proceedings on Threepence Halfpenny. Molly fitted the bill perfectly. She was able to secure deals with Mulhoe Furs that would see in a touch of Hollywood glamour for the price of an on-screen credit, and spent most of her time taking charge of an inordinate amount of trench coats during her first few years with the company as it waded through a large amount of film noir releases. Her very busy early years with Hammer passed by fairly unremarkably, but occasionally she'd have the chance to get very creative with projects like Robin Hood's Merry Men, racing driver gear for Mask of Dust, or space suits for Spaceways and the Quatermass Experiment. It's at that point the studio's direction was shifted, and she would go on to create the lengthy black coat worn by Christopher Lee's creature in The Curse of Frankenstein, and of course Dracula's iconic cape, amongst a wealth of suddenly more demanding and widely varied subjects that would be anywhere between the Beastly Baron and Bombay. She became an intrinsic part of the Bray family, and Peter Cushing remembered her fondly decades later for her warmth, chats, and endless cups of tea. If you check the credits, there aren't many Hammer releases between 1952 and 1967 that don't bear her name. She'd worked on a staggering 35 productions before 1960 came around, and would continue to be part of the Bray Studios family until Hammer would move on to larger premises in November 1966. Enough was enough, and this seemed like the best time to call it a day, and despite her work prior to Hammer, and then her stunning and exhausting body of work with the company, Molly Arbuthnot would never work with anyone else, and slipped into a quiet life away from the movie business. Her brother, the production manager Don Weeks, was all the contact she needed. He joined the Bray family a while after Molly and found himself following a similar career path. He would only go on to work on one more film without his sister, but that's a story for another day.
Fantastic stuff, Kevy. Another painting to hang in the Hammer Hero Gallery. Or did we have statues? Or trophies? Either way, there's a new one. I'm afraid, my friends, that we are almost at an end. As always, should you wish to yell at us, buy some of our merch, or find out how to be awesome by being a patron, just look at all those lovingly prepared show notes. Next time, we head to a carnival, eat very little while avoiding poisoned ham, and take a pause from the noir, with some truly inspired utter batch**ery, with possibly Hammer's craziest film to date. Until next time.
From me, Ben Tillison.
From me, Cev Moore.
And from me, Smokey. You lovely hamsters, take extra good care of yourselves. Until you return, the next time, here, at the House of Hammer.